You guys want to know what I'm watching on eFuckit?
I'm gonna look at
Yes,
your
I do.
glasses.
I watch beheading
Look at your
videos.
Glasses. Looks like text.
I don't think I want to know. I'm probably not the person who wants
You
to
want
know.
to see the Breakfast of Champions? I'll do it so Tim can't see it.
Do I want to see this? I don't do it.
No. Here's how you truly
Is it
start your day.
Like a prolapse or something?
No.
Ah, little belly.
Oh yeah, I've seen this. Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember this. That's weird. Like, I like that kind of stuff, but not like that kind of stuff. That's just weird.
What the sweet hell?
UberCast X. UberCast
Don't have it all
X.
upstairs, but who cares?
For the hustlers, attention for the free. I'm up in prospect.
Now begins the show.
Welcome back to UberCast. I'm your host, Tim. This is the second episode of the second season, and I'm still the head host. And I'm sitting here today with the co-host, the epic.
The epic second banana. Clayton. Yes.
Are you also known as anything?
No.
No. And we've got some excellent guests today. First up,
Oh, a chicken tongue, a tongue, I just show
Much sense into this boy.
That's right, we got Steven Tyler with us on tonight's episode.
okay.
I'm Ralph. Hello. I was possessed by an erratic Hiroshima deaf person who mistook the bright light as a Godzilla.
Wait, that was supposed to be Japanese-ish?
Yeah, that was Japan. That was.
All right, and we've also got...
We've got John with an H, and I have to say, I always end up with burnt spaghettini at the bottom of the pot because I cook it just like spaghetti, and that damn thin stuff cooks faster.
John with an H, also known as Corn Man.
Very well. And of course, so I know the Uber class out there is dying to hear an update about John.
Dying of leukemia.
Dying, no pun intended, because he could be dying. But so Clayton is just coming back from visiting John in the hospital. What are the updates?
He's in a coma. Nick's crying a lot. That's about, I don't know.
So we're at the same place we were last week.
Yeah.
Coma and crying.
Yeah, pretty much. Just gotta... whatever.
Don't you worry, I take care of Mr. Blizzard. I do very good medical work. I done good work with the Jews. I did experiments on them back in old times and know how coma work on the superior white man. He's in good hand. Da. No, I'm just with Father Simon.
Okay. So that was Ralph.
I don't know what
Alright.
you're talking about. That was some German bald guy with a monocle who just kind of popped in here for a sec. Give us the doctor.
Truth be told,
Beaker. I'm pretty sure his name was Beaker.
truth be told, it is very unfortunate the fact that we have been to John's hospital room. We have attempted a few native-esque seances. We've tried a few Wiccan seances.
A few corn burnings.
We've tried a few German alchemy-type seances. We're trying to get John's spirit to come back to his body because we just assume it's lacking. He's drooling all over the place. Unfortunately, when I tried to summon these people, all I was saying was come to John's body. Unfortunately, sitting between me and John Blizzard was, of course, this joke makes no sense because his name is Ralph. But his middle name and his father's name was John. And so growing up, Ralph was known as John Boy, John Lad, and things like that. He had a very low-voiced father. And unfortunately, I may have accidentally forced the spirits I was trying to get back into him. Unfortunately, none of those spirits seem to be John Blizzard. So he's still somewheres out there. Perhaps he may even have a bit part in Insidious 3.
I think that my worst mistake was attacking Russia in the winter. That was probably the worst mistake. Hey guys, what's...
Well, that was Napoleon's mistake, and yes.
So
Do not compare me to that fucking French Dolby Stein. Hey guys, what's...
Never thought I'd
What
miss
keeps
Ralph.
happening? What? I just keep blacking out there for a sec.
yeah.
You're full of ghouls.
Full of ghouls, not again. Oh man. Oh gee whiz.
But-
Too many Willikers.
So right now we don't know where John's spirit is, but John's body at least is in a coma.
In theory, if we believe that, his body clearly is in a coma. I've taken the liberty of like poking his leg with sharp objects, and he's not jumping out of it. So that may be why Nick was crying. She was in the room at the time.
But luckily for her, the German alchemy turned his dick to gold.
Oh.
So it is right now surgically being removed to pay for the services.
Yeah.
We may be in Canada, but certain things such as seances apparently aren't covered.
We should bloodlet him more. I think if we just keep doing that,
They're
like
trying
it works.
leeches right now.
Yeah.
They're trying leeches.
Just take more blood. You can give me the blood.
So that's the John update. We'll keep you posted as events transpire with John's body. All right, first up, let's talk video games.
Get games for us. Word.
I like it.
That's our intro.
So games for us. Who's played any video games in the last week? Or 2 weeks?
A lot of World of Warcraft. A lot of lonely nights, getting naked on the computer. Sometimes, I can't, the keys get stuck together, and my keyboard's sticky.
Are you in a clan?
I'm in a guild. I don't know the name of it because I do not communicate with them. I mostly just, play by myself.
Okay, I'm not a huge World of Warcraft door, but my understanding is that it was centralized on sort of clan group attacks, right? And you
Well,
get
there's
together.
if you're gonna do a dungeon or a raid, you have to join up with multiple people, but the system does that for you, and all that jazz. And I like the storyline and all that. It's fun. It's great. It's addicting. My life is it's a fucking mess, but it's it's great. It's worth it. Totally 100%. Don't talk to my father anymore, but it's fine.
Sounds very
As John
exciting.
is not here, I must say it's addictive. Not addictive. Moving on. I've actually been playing a game. It's nowhere near as complicated as that. I actually found it on.
Buttbusters 9.
It may have been Addicting Games or that maybe. It's called
But
Agario, and it's a very
It's-
simplistic game. You basically play as a round, a single cell that is floating around in white space. And you can eat cells that are smaller than you. You can get eaten by cells that are bigger than you. And your goal is to try to just consume and gain mass as you eat the others
Is that the
and grow.
multiplayer one?
Yes.
I played that.
It's played with people online, and it's both made me appreciate the teamwork that can be had coming back from a loss, and it's also made me realize that the majority of humanity is selfish and will just abandon you and screw you over if there's any sign of trouble.
That's very interesting. I'm always interested in games that take approaches or studies on game theory itself. So your conclusion, though, is that people do act as self-interested agents.
My conclusion, very much. They don't do the game theory thing. I myself have been very adept at realizing, especially if you go in the team play, which I enjoy more than the free-for-all, but I also get frustrated more by it. If you can help somebody because it's like, you can throw your mass into someone, they'll become bigger and they can eat the enemy. But you become smaller and you have to hope that they reward you after their win by giving you some of the mass that they've attained by absorbing this other person. But a lot of the times they just get bigger and then go the other direction, leaving you very defenseless because when you're small, almost anybody can eat you. So you gain somebody the victory and it seems good for the team, and it is good for the team, but then they don't pay you back, and then you become bitter or at least I do, and then you don't help the next guy, and the team suffers on account of it.
Right.
But good teamwork is hard to find, especially because you're not able to communicate verbally or anything other than moving your character left, right, up, or down kind of thing with anyone else. So it's very difficult to really know who's on your side or not.
He's right. He's good teamwork, very hard to find. You know, we have got the Italians. They were helping us, but they are very useless in this war, and we just need to round them all up in the
And as
That's okay.
And as John is not here, I feel the need to say that it really should be addictivegames.com, but it isn't.
I keep blacking out there. What was going on a second ago?
We were just talking about video games.
Oh, okay.
What about you, Clayton?
I was playing the remastered Final Fantasy IV.
That's
With-
a good game. That's
Yeah.
splendid. It's Cecil, CBD Cecil.
Or Cecil,
But then he becomes
a white knight.
Jiminy Jilliger.
That's right.
But the remastered one is the one they have the much better quality graphics. Much better
Yeah,
quality
and then
graphics.
it has the other game, the sequel with Cecil's son. And I think there's a middle game too you can play. It's probably not very long. But I was skeptical. I was like, I don't know, I don't really like the new designs, but now I like them. And the game's fun. I'm really enjoying it. It's pretty good.
That's one thing that Square seems really good at is they keep re-releasing the Final Fantasies over and over again on different platforms
Because
and
they
different
can't
updates.
make a good one,
Yeah, they
a
can't make
new
any
one.
fucking good ones anymore.
They suck. They're giving up.
They've been Enix-fied. I don't know how to pronounce that particularly. It's become far too much about trying to be modern, trying to work on the grinding, the side missions, and they really just don't work on the main
Final
story
Fantasy
anymore.
13-3 is all side missions. That's what the whole game is.
Final Fantasy 13 in general is just fucking retarded. It's stupid.
13-3 is just...
So our verdict, 13.3 is stupid.
I stopped
Well,
after
I'm
12,
playing
and
it
12
still.
was quite...
I've never
it
played
did-
13.
didn't feel like a Final Fantasy game.
Well, you know, Final Fantasy 14, the MMO, is supposed to be good. I haven't played it. You were-
Well, MMOs are lame.
You know what, Boom?
What?
Your lord. My dad didn't believe me.
They did announce that the new Final Fantasy 16
Yeah.
will be
15.
coming out in 2016.
15. It's Final Fantasy 15. But it's coming out in 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
And I look forward to it. I think it looks interesting. But then again, it could be garbage. I thought 13 looked great, and then I played it, and I was like, this is cancer.
I was excited for it, and then I played the demo. But I think
Yeah, you guys have the demo on a Let's Play.
Yeah, I think that was the problem. But, I don't know.
We'll see.
Maybe it's good.
We'll see.
All right, and what about other media? TV, I know one TV topic I want to quickly talk about. Anyone else going to throw in any
Yeah.
exciting new movies?
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw this, Boone showed me this really cool video where they opened up a girl's butthole and they put what appeared to be Fruit Loops in her, and then a man put milk in there and he started eating the bowl of cereal out of her butthole.
I'm sorry, I must correct you. That was actually Lord Boone.
Lord Boone showed me this video.
Okay. Am I going to be editing this one?
I don't know.
Anyway. Well, one thing I did watch last night was the final episode of The Daily Show with Jon Stewart.
Was that good? I didn't see that. I honestly loved it.
It was just like a party. He had back all of his correspondence with
That
Steve
sounds
Carell and Stephen Colbert and pretty much everyone. It was just sort of a party atmosphere, and then it ended with his favorite musician,
Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen, singing a song, and he just looked like he was having a fun time.
Well,
They've been
he's
winding
earned
it
it.
up for a few episodes, like for actually probably a whole month, really. Yeah.
That's really sad. I actually used to when I was, I think I was in high school. Yeah, because The Daily Show and the Colbert Report would come on really late at night, and of course I still had a curfew back then. And I would sneak downstairs to watch the show at like 2 o'clock in the morning and make a triple Decker jam sandwich and sneak and watch The Daily Show and The Colbert Report, and now they're both gone, and it's kind of sad because those were great shows, and like they actually brought like good stuff like to attention, because not a lot of people give a shit about the news. I mean, a lot of it, and personally I think, is just propaganda. But they would actually bring like serious subjects to light, and people would fucking listen to it because they actually bring a humorous element to it, and it is a shame that it's gone.
In all honesty, Jon Stewart really was probably the most trusted voice in news for our entire generation.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was just a comedian, but his satire took such an honest and fair, critical approach to events and people in the news that deserved a critical approach.
Yep.
Well,
I think
many people watch these shows as their only outlet of current affairs.
And now they won't know what's happening.
Well, by the end, it was a very popular show. Well, it is continuing with the South African
That's right,
guy
that's right.
And there's still a couple other shows that are good. John Oliver's Last Week Tonight is excellent.
I've been very impressed by episodes of that, yes.
Yeah, and honestly, he probably should have ended up, if the timing kind of screwed up, but he would have been the guy to be.
Oh, definitely,
take on a Daily
100%.
Show.
He's great. John Oliver is amazing.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about over the years of watching Jon Stewart, because I've been watching it definitely at least since the early Bush years. John Oliver's comedy is sort of what I missed the most when he left. They've had a lot of correspondents and comedians who helped write, but when John Oliver left, I really could miss his style of comedy on the show.
Definitely.
But you can still get it just by watching Last Week.
You know who I actually really missed is, I think his name was Rob Corddry.
Rob Corddry.
Yeah, Rob Corddry. I fucking loved him on The Daily Show. There was this one clip when there was that whole Michael Jackson fiasco. He went out and he was interviewing this Michael Jackson supporter, and she's just going on about how much she loves Michael Jackson. Then he just goes, "So do you think he raped the kids?" And then she's just like, "No!" And I don't know why, but I fucking lost it. I thought it was amazing.
No, he had so many of his correspondents would go on, were brilliant, hilarious guys, but they'd always very quickly leave the show and go on to have huge careers. I mean, like 5 or 6 or 7 of them.
He didn't go very far.
Well, he's still got like a couple shows. He's got
that's true.
Animal Doctor, Children's Hospital,
which is great. I'm not dissing him. I love him. I think he's great. But yeah, Children's Hospital is great.
I've actually never seen it.
Pardon?
You just don't care for the new style.
No, I love everything he does.
Okay.
It's just that he hasn't like done that much. Actually, I remember.
Well, he's not as big as Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
actually,
epic, huge.
They poked fun at it because there was one episode of the Daily Show where he came back and he kind of as a guest, like to be interviewed, and then at the end he started screaming at John, begging for his job back, and so I thought that was pretty funny. So. Yeah.
I do have to say though, you mentioned Steve Carell and who was the other Steve? Steve Colbert.
Yeah. Colbert.
That many Steves. I do have to ask, as his brother, you've been very silent about the whereabouts of the John Blizzard shooter, Steve.
And threatened to shoot Brandon last episode. Well, I haven't actually heard from him for a week. Clayton is my contact. He didn't trust me with his number on the run. Clayton may be able to still contact Steven. I don't know.
I think he's, I don't know, Africa?
Well, I'd heard in the news...
Or Jamaica.
I'd heard from the news, which is always 100% reliable, that 2 postcards have been sent, him not realizing that can help locate him. That the first one simply wrote, "Sorry." And it was written from our first major, extremely international airport. Basically, it was in Toronto. I had the CN Tower on it and everything. And then
I didn't know that was still a city.
One sent that only said "my bad" on it, an extension of the "sorry," and it in fact was sent from Morocco. So he may or may not be on his way to. I don't know. Every now and then I would hear him mumbling about a cabin your family owns in Madagascar or something. But
what?
I don't know.
That's right.
Actually, he the other day he's been speaking to me through microwave transmissions. And
that's
so
interesting.
Yeah, so he's mostly just says burrito.
Are you sure it's him and it's microwave transmissions, or is it?
I might just be making a burrito in a microwave and keep my head really close to it. I'm not 100% sure, but
So is the RCMP or Interpol actually looking for Stephen? I kind of got the impression from the actual authorities that they didn't really care.
Well, the interesting thing is, apparently,
Yeah, they said, fuck that Blizzard guy.
Apparently
One less Blizzard.
somewhere within the legalities of creating UberCast X, because of Clayton's lordship as being a Scottish landowner, they accidentally created a Scottish embassy in the UberCast office. So the RCMP is not looking for John Blizzard because he is technically on a work visa for Scotland right now.
Another fact is that the thing about UberCast X is that once it was created, there was a bylaw that was discovered that basically means that anyone who is associated with the show is no longer recognized as a human being, and all of our rights are gone. So
Wow.
yeah, so that's just one of those funky bylaws that got.
Is that why the silent guys are in all four corners with the rifles?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Like
I thought those were extravagant decorations. They don't move. They don't move, even if you punch them.
we're just worse than fucking animals.
So we're basically in international waters now. That's what you're saying.
We're in international waters. We could just start molesting each other and no one would care.
I would care.
As soon as we whip our dicks out, the guys with the guns are going to shoot our dicks right off. I think that's
For kicks.
Yeah.
That's a deterrent.
I would like to think that deters us from whipping them out. I actually have seen a show since my last visit to the Uber class.
Tell me about it.
Now, I'm not so much concerned about the show, but in watching the show, it brought up a question of just literary techniques that I'd like to bring up. But first, I have to talk about the show. Now, apparently for several years, Japan, and this is an anime, I know this isn't everybody's style, for several years, no manga/anime has been bigger in Japan than One Piece, something I'm not familiar with. I've only seen a couple times, and I'm not a fan of the artwork. I don't know the style. Seems a little kiddish to me.
Inside padding. Just fucking stretch it out as long as they can.
Well, when I get into a show, the problem with me is I binge watch a show. And apparently One Piece has something like several hundred episodes, so I can't do that. Yeah. But after 5 years of reigning on top, it got a surprising contender that just annihilated it, which is Attack on Titan, which is the show I have watched. It had wonderful animation. The pacing and character development was both an amazing plus because you actually care about the characters, but it was a huge negative because they spend in 5 episodes before anything new really happens. I can definitely see why it's popular, but even the creators don't know why it became so popular. The reason there's only one season of the anime is literally because the writer, the animation studio, everyone involved didn't know it was going to become so famous. And it is the #1 anime in Japan as of time of this recording.
Well, they have a live-action movie coming out.
They have 2 live-action movies coming out this year.
That's fast.
Both made in Japan, obviously. And I do have to say, the only thing that really caught me is it's an amazing concept. If anybody out there doesn't know the concept, essentially, giant humanoid creatures are trying to eat humanity for fun, and it's humanity's attempt to survive. That's a very generalized synopsis of it. They have huge walls that have protected them for like a century. One day, a giant that is like 60 meters higher than all the other giants shows up, and it just barges through their gate, and they lose a huge amount of land and have to retract behind another wall.
So it's a post-apocalyptic.
In a way, all of humanity has basically come into this one set of walls that seems to be massive, but they also refer to, like, there's one Asian character, and they refer to, in the past there was whole different cultures of people, because now everyone exists within essentially one nation, and most of humanity's been destroyed. Now, what really caught me on this one was the character design. It began with a character who was not the best at everything. One of his friends was the smartest of their bunch. Another of his friends was the toughest and best fighter of the bunch, and he was kind of just in the middle. And I liked that. It was a story about a guy who isn't the one-all, end-all hero. Unfortunately, about 8 episodes in, spoiler warning here, he appears to die which happens a lot in anime, and even when I was watching it, it's like, okay, he's not really dead. He'll be back soon. But after about another 3 or 4 episodes, he's not back yet, and the other characters are developing, and I'm thinking, wow, what a ballsy move. One character who's been smart but not very brave is finding a little bit of bravery in the memory of this guy who died in front of him. And the tough character who has shown no emotion starts showing a lot more emotion, gives up on life, goes on almost a kamikaze mission, and then realizes, no, he taught me that to live is to fight. This is the world we live in now, and she finds her resolve. And it seems like, oh wow, she's going to become the new protagonist of this, and I'm fine with this, even though the other one was a likable character. And just as she's about to fight back, whereas she had gone on a kamikaze mission, doesn't the other guy show up? Now, spoiler warning, now he has found a way to turn into one of the giant 15-meter tall humanoid beings, and he fights back, and he saves her. She's been saving him the whole series up till now. Now, all of a sudden, in a series where it was humans with technology versus giants who are just nearly impossible to kill, now he shows up and is saving them, and immediately from about episode 12 or so in, becomes the typical anime character where he is the only one strong enough, powerful enough, anything enough to get anything done for the rest of the first season. And I find that very annoying because I hate the chosen one. I hate that you're the only hope for humanity. I really liked what they were doing before because the other characters were almost... I was fine with them replacing him as the main character. So, though I've used Attack on Titan, which I would still recommend, there's 25 episodes and there's a new season coming out sometime in the future, and 2 movies. It's an interesting concept, a different take on the whole apocalyptic thing. But the question I'd like to pose to the UberCast class here is, can you kill off a likable main character partway through a series, have other people step up, and not have audience backlash?
Gurren Lagann. Watch Gurren Lagann.
I'm not familiar with that. Tell us about it.
It's kind of a spoiler, but it's awesome. It's like humanity's... It's like under the heel of the oppressors, and eventually some dudes are like, you know what? We want to live above ground because all humanity has to live underground in caves. And
This is an anime?
yes,
Is that the one with the guy with the yellow sunglasses?
yes.
Okay, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, well, it's on Netflix. Watch it. It's amazing. So
That's
just
Gurren Lagann.
Gurren Lagann.
The Simpsons.
Yes, little known fact in the first season, who was it? What was it again?
Professor Mori Merrick.
Yeah, that guy. He was wearing blackface all the time, and he was a really good guy. And then he killed himself. Couldn't get the blackface off.
But my point is, I'm always just tired. I'm tired of the fact that this seemed to be a really ballsy move. I should mention that I know there's a manga and it's extended, but I didn't read that. I knew only what was revealed to me in the show.
Manga was pretty good. I was reading it.
And actually, I do have to mention another thing. Also in the anime world, which is strange because I'm the last person who really should be an expert on this. But it should be mentioned that even in the Dragon Ball universe, their main character was killed off 3 times. And it's funny that should be mentioned because they actually do have a new series that just started a few weeks ago.
Super, yeah.
And they also had a new movie out. And that brings me to my second question. Although, if anybody has anything on the first question, I'd really still like to hear it because, in my opinion, you should be... I've always, in a whole other realm of series, I always thought, what if they killed the main character of Walking Dead and just continued? Because I've been watching that, and the main character hasn't been interesting for a few seasons. But they'll never do it because it's not marketable. And even, I should mention, the writer of Attack on Titan has mentioned that he was going to end it with just everyone dying and humanity losing. But then when it suddenly became a famous series, he said, maybe I'll rethink that. So do you really think that a writer should rethink things based on the popularity of, let's say, a character or a series to change what he originally intended?
That usually doesn't work out well for long.
No.
Going back to the Dragon Ball Z thing, Akira Toriyama, who was the writer, he hated the character of Vegeta, who was a crowd favorite, and he never intended to revive him whatsoever, but he kept bringing him back, even beyond a noble sacrifice death that he thought the audience would be satisfied with, and brought him back again and again.
Fuck, I had a point, but it's gone now.
Japan.
Japan.
Okay, excellent.
Oh, actually, I do remember. Yeah, okay, back in the writing thing. Yeah, fucking writers shouldn't listen to their fucking fans or popularity. Example, Mass Effect 3. I'm not going to get into the ending because I haven't beaten it, but basically, not a lot of people like the ending of Mass Effect 3. Fucking deal with it. Like, seriously. Like, stop your goddamn bitching. Who gives a shit? It was 3 games, and even for the 3rd game, it was good up until the ending. Fucking deal with it. If it wasn't that good of an ending, suck a dick. Alright? Because, like, fucking... Some people don't even like the Dark Knight trilogy because they didn't like the 3rd movie. Certain people who are in a coma. I personally like the third movie. Apparently, I was just talking...
You only like the first one.
Whatever. Anyways... He can die. I hope he dies in his coma.
In John's absence, I should say, he found the first movie addictive.
Listen, The Dark Knight, I love the Heath Ledger's Joker. Anyways. Anyways, deal with it, alright? Just deal with it.
The only other thing that this whole thing where the guy seemed to be a hero who was likable, would die, and others would find... they would almost inherit his bravery and fill in the lack of character that they had on either side. I thought was interesting.
That is interesting.
But now that he's become the only hope for humanity, my secondary question and the last thing that I'd really planned to say today was, particularly with series like this, and even with the whole Dragon Ball issue of things, does the hero of a story always need to be the best and the only one who can save us? Because I'm very sick of this cliche.
Because that's not human, and I like flaws, because it's human.
Well, I think that's interesting, because if you look at older sort of hero myths, it is all about founder heroes who were demigods, who could conquer something and be the greatest, and were everything.
But it was all fairy tale bullshit.
All of these stories we're talking about were made up. But it's sort of a modern
Wait, you're saying
invention.
that my Japan animes are not real?
I'm afraid not. But it is sort of a modern, relatively modern narrative where we have anti-heroes and heroes that are identifiable and have human problems.
I like that. Actually, one thing... one of my favorite game storylines is Grand Theft Auto 4, and it's fucking Nico Bellic, who I thought was just absolutely depressing and amazing and very human, because came from a war-torn past, wanted to get away from it, move away, and his dumbass cousin just drags him right back into it, and he just regretted every bit of it, and it was fucking, like, it was just so good. And if they ever, for some conceivable reason, to make any Grand Theft Auto game into a movie, which shouldn't happen, but if they did, it would have to be Grand Theft Auto 4, because it's the most realistic and human story out of all of them.
Also considering the Vice City one was based on a pre-existing movie, which was Scarface.
True.
Loosely based.
Loosely.
Of course. So let's give Clayton. You'll have the last word on our study here of anime heroes.
Let's see. Well,
I guess what I'll throw in one question to you.
Good idea.
Are you sick of? To me, I'm sick of the fact that the determined, driven main character who has one character trait, which is I am determined to win. Usually, they learn the lesson partway through that they must depend on their friends in order to make it, and that's why they have friends. But it's always a moot point because they always end up being the strongest one who is the only one still standing when all their friends fall anyway. So, I don't know. What do you think of the character design where, yes, determination is great, but do you think that it's always enough?
no, it can be annoying. Like this one called Blue Exorcist, the main character's the son of Satan, so he's super powerful, and his friends are all humans, and they're like, "Yo, you're too powerful." What? Oh, I'm touching myself. And yeah, it's silly. And you should have like a loser be the hero.
I think a good example of that would be the classic movie, the classic character Gord from Freddy Got Fingered, who was a loser.
What?
He was a loser, and he brought everyone together in that movie.
That was a good movie.
That was a good movie.
People don't like it; they're stupid.
Daddy, would you like some sausage? Is
Yeah.
a line that got me through some times.
Well, it also helped in like I believe it was Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo, where Turbo and the gang got everyone together, and as a group, they saved their dance studio.
Yep. That's just I totally agree. I can see the
Yeah.
parallels.
Okay, so what's next? In the news?
News, blues news.
Snap. All right, I know what I want to talk about in the news.
The Godzilla attack in Japan.
That was fictional again. These are movies, and you're watching Netflix.
I was wondering why it was in black and white. I thought for a second Japan was black and white, just like 50s New York, which is not real.
Yeah. Okay, so
So what was the big item in the news this week, you think?
well, here in Canada, last weekend, Prime Minister Stephen Harper began the election for the leadership of Canada.
Well, I, for one, will not be voting because it doesn't count.
Interesting.
Fair enough.
We had the debate was yesterday, from when we're recording here for last night.
Yes.
All right. So last weekend, Stephen Harper announced the election. This election is unique in that it's 11 weeks long. It's in all, I think, around 75 or 76 days. In the past Canadian elections, the maximum has been 35 days to keep spending down low and to have a focused election. So this is a new thing that Stephen Harper has done. I want to talk about because I think what he's doing in this election, just alone in his sort of strategy towards the election, is pretty despicable.
Yeah,
pretty horrible.
he's pondering towards the Israel.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about him trying to get a lot more money into politics, into the election.
From the Israelis.
I don't think so.
And in what way can you tell the Uber class that he's... what is his plan to get more money in there?
Well, by making the election over twice as long,
Bombing Lebanon.
what that means is that it's going to require a lot more money to run the election. And that's the one sort of inside track that the Conservative Party has right now, and where they're losing in polls, is they have a lot more money. They can work for basically the interest of money. And what's despicable about it, what I'm so annoyed by this, is that a year ago he passed this Fair Elections Act that basically set it up so that he could put a whole much more money into it by expanding the length of the election.
Very fair, Stephen. I'll be voting for the Rhino Party because I don't like the Bay of Fundy and I want it to be a parking lot.
So what you could say is this is yet another Steve that the Uber class is not really inclined to be in favor of.
I wouldn't compare him to Stephen, but there is another problem. In addition, the Fair Elections Act also is going to require voter IDs. It is going to require picture IDs when you vote, which is a huge change. The reasoning behind that, they claimed, was to stop voter fraud, a problem that's never existed.
Is there
never
ever
ever
voter
happened.
fraud in a country where most of the people don't vote?
There's no voter fraud whatsoever.
Exactly.
Zero. It's a not problem. The reason they're doing it is the exact same reason the Republicans were trying to do it in the States, is because statistically they get more votes when it's harder for certain groups, Native Americans, people living on the street, students, when it's harder for them to vote, the Conservatives have a few chances more. And that's huge in our riding. In our riding here in Fredericton, there's it's a university town. There's a big university. The way the election split up is different for the provincial, for the New Brunswick election than it is for the federal election. But the riding where the university is right now had just elected a Green Party.
That is very interesting.
For the provincial.
Actually. I did not see that coming. Sorry, not see that coming.
Well, yeah, and that's why it's so huge for students, because students, their picture IDs are going to say their parents' address. They're not going to say where they're living now in Fredericton, but they're allowed to vote in Fredericton. But how many students are going to go through doing the paperwork that's required to get the right type of ID to vote? I mean, that deterrent is going to be just enough for the Conservatives to win here again when they're otherwise probably wouldn't win. So, and just sort of in conclusion, I'm disgusted by someone being strategic about the fundamental right to vote. I mean, it's okay I don't mind politicians being strategic in some ways, but when you're when you're not allowing people to vote just for a strategic reason and then lying about it and planning ahead and strategizing an election this way to get more money into your election, I'm just hugely disgusted.
Yeah, he might as well just be putting fancy stars in our coats.
What are your thoughts on... I think most of Canada has noticed by now, anybody who watches television for more than a few seconds, Canadian television that is, what do you think of the campaign ads? I've never seen...
Oh, they're all fucking stupid.
In the Harper government, and progressively so with each passing election, I've never seen quite as many... smeared
negative ads, and there's a lot more money in those ads now. They're structuring the ads are being funded by PACs, just like American political action committees now. So the Conservative action committees are just going after smear attacks, and they're getting money funneled through that way.
It just seems to be as if we're hearing more about why we shouldn't vote for this person or that person or this or that, instead of why we should vote for anyone.
Well, it's because right now the people aren't happy with Harper. His economy is very bad. The oil economy's fallen apart. And
he's not going to win.
Well, right now, the last poll I saw, the NDP was winning by 10 or 11 points over the Conservatives. So it's looking good for Mulcair. That's the other thing I want to talk about, of course, was the debate. The first debate just happened last night. It was an excellent debate. Actually, everyone did pretty good. Everyone's achieved what they wanted to achieve, I think. Elizabeth May, the Green Party leader. This may be the only debate she's allowed into. She actually, in my opinion, was one of the strongest there. She sounded great. She was able to really get her voice in, and that was her goal, and for people to see what she has to say. I think everyone was attacking Stephen Harper on his economics. Stephen Harper's goal seemed to deflect the attacks of everyone else, but primarily try to make it sound like the economy isn't as bad as it actually is, which I think he failed in.
Oh yeah, the low dollar. We want it lower. That's what we want. The dollar just got to be closer to zero. Is good, right? Closer to 1 or 0 is good.
That was effectively his argument, but...
Wait, is that actually his fucking argument?
Not exactly.
I didn't watch it. Because, that's monkey talk.
He did try to argue...
It could be just the low dollar is not as bad as you might think, even though
it's like...
Well, his argument was basically that although the energy is doing horrible in Canada, there's other parts of the Canadian economy that aren't as horrible. The problem is that his economy has been focused so much on energy that as soon as American interests are no longer interested in, because of the price of oil, and interested in Canadian energy, then it fell apart.
I'm surprised he's not saying we should bomb that desert place that no one likes, more.
So,
they did talk a little bit about that.
Nevada. Did any of the other party leaders mention energy in a positive way of what their party might do, or was it primarily just a criticism of the way things are currently?
Well, the Green Party primarily was the one talking about energy. Of course, the Liberals were relatively quiet, as I remember, on their platform there. As I was saying, but I think Stephen Harper effectively did sort of deflect most of the attacks that were pretty consistently going after him. To be honest, I think Trudeau, if anyone won the debate, I think it was Trudeau, the Liberal leader. What he needed to do was look grown up, look like he was capable of being a prime minister, and he.
That's what everyone's like. Their thing against him is that he's just a boy. And
Yeah,
it's not
that's the
good
criticism.
enough,
Is he looks young, he seems young, he seems sort of entitled. He's the son of a very prominent, famous.
Yeah.
But what about his hair? I always heard the smear campaigns talk about his hair a lot.
But they don't smear his hair though.
Yeah, it's like
No,
the best thing about this guy is his hair.
yeah, that's the sarcasm. His hair actually did look great. He got a haircut, but
But if his hair is very good, does that not kind of mention that the other things could be very good? Like if you set the bar this high, that's a lot of room.
I wouldn't
one
vote
who
for
wants-
a guy with a mohawk. That's just silliness right there.
Is he the one who wants to legalize marijuana?
Well, I believe in that.
yes.
Well, I think
Yes, he does.
That's got to happen. I mean, there's nothing.
He wants to take away health. I mean, the baby bonus or whatever from families. But I think he wants to legalize marijuana and use that money for free childcare. So that would free up a lot of money for families.
There's nothing wrong with pot. It's nowhere near as bad as cigarettes. I'm not saying pot is the most. I mean, it is a medicine technically. I don't know why the fuck people it's still demonized.
It's cultural.
Yeah, but it's like if Billy down the road smokes a blunt, he's not going to be raping grandma. Like that's not how it works. If he's going to rape grandma after he smokes a blunt, it's because he was already going to rape grandma. Like you know what I mean? There's no rape caused by marijuana.
So, out of curiosity, not to generalize cultures or anything, but assuming that perhaps a younger, perhaps student-based culture may be more inclined to vote for someone based on a pro legalization era type idea. Does this imply that perhaps making it harder for student-age people and people out of their own province or territory to vote and do a little bit of extra paperwork might actually be a conservative kind of agenda to prevent the people who would possibly vote in someone purely on the marijuana thing? Because people do tend to just latch on one topic in a who are you going to vote for thing.
None of the parties have really, as far as the election, latched onto that topic. I don't think the marijuana came up at all in the debate last night.
Well, I'm just curious as to, you mentioned earlier how just a little bit of paperwork might make it harder for some students to bother to vote. It's kind of sad that, in general, anywhere in North America, people just are very apathetic towards doing anything for the most part, especially
we're
voting.
around 60%, I think, was the last federal election. Yeah, well, again, that was my huge critique of what Harper's doing, is that their IDs aren't going to be for Fredericton, aren't going to be in the riding that they're in right now. To conclude what we're talking about with the debate, Mulcair, the NDP leader, who's right now leading in the polls, did pretty good. He's typically has been thought of as someone who's very combative, who's very argumentative, who's always the guy who's been criticizing. He's been criticizing Harper, but in this debate he acted very prime ministerial.
Perhaps he knew that the mud was going to be slung by everyone else anyway, so why not come out looking the cleanest? Not that that's devious or anything. That's quite wise.
Well, they're all
Let's go. And as far as mudslinging, it was a pretty mellow debate. Nothing like the Republican debate that was going on at the same time.
Well, it's the beginning of a long process, as you mentioned. I don't think the swords are going to be drawn for a little while yet.
Tell you, I like that Trump guy though.
Oh, for the Republican, yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that Trump.
I think other statistics have said that Trudeau, if anyone, probably won the debate, but no one was a clear winner. As far as other pollings.
They all lost.
Well, the general idea is they all actually did achieve what they wanted to achieve. You don't always go into a debate and want to win the debate. You have different goals. Your goal might be, with like Elizabeth May, just to get your voice out there. Your goal might be to look like a prime minister, like Trudeau and Malker were trying to do, and they basically succeeded. And your goal may be just to be able to avoid the tax on your economy, like Harper was trying to do.
Well, we will find out, unless the world ends, beforehand, or any of us die. I mean, because then you would, unless ghosts are.
It could just be the nation that ends.
That is also, that our dollar could keep going down, and then, we could just become part of Mexico or something.
North Mexico. That'd
North
be cool.
Mexico.
Northico. Sounds like a gas station.
According to the Conservative Party's Twitter site, or at least someone is associated with the Conservative Party, they believe Prime Minister Harper won the first debate. Although I don't know if they're exactly unbiased, or whether that would be agreed by.
I believe that any party would probably be in favor of their representative.
Probably. Getting back, though, to the whole... what's this?
Oh, Harper's... Okay, I misunderstood the message that's coming to us.
Sent in by the Lord Boone servants here at...
Okay, in the photo where the Conservative Twitter feed posted the supposed win of Stephen Harper, they misspelled Prime Minister. Prime Minister as Prime Minister.
Prime Minister.
Nice.
In a tweet, which I guess just makes them look silly in trying to claim A, that Harper won the debate, and B, they look like fools.
Just very
silly.
There's just one thing I wanted to revisit, though, is you're talking about like how you need to have your IDs for voting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's silly, it's dumb, right? But what it really is it's just conditioning, because eventually they're going to be putting these chips into us, which is, if you look into the Bible, it basically means the mark of the beast, coming of the beast, and the rise of the Antichrist.
I've heard that before. Yeah. Isn't that kind of a jump?
Oh no, it's not a jump, because Obama is a lizard alien from Nibiru, and he is pulling the strings. And he was President Bush and Queen Elizabeth at the same time. And he's just a shapeshifter. And we're all going to be North American. There's a New World Order.
Two things. One, I believe it's actually pronounced Nibiru, the 10th planet in the solar system, if you don't count Pluto or whatever. Home of the Anunnaki?
The Anunnaki Empire.
And the other fact is escaping me right now.
Not a fact.
While I try to remember. It is escaped me.
You look like you got some scales around your eyes there, Thornton.
Well, that's the eczema.
Well, that's our talk on politics. Finishing up a little bit on lizard politics.
I'm just getting one last thing here is I'm getting microwaves from Steven here, and it says President Trump will free us from the reptilian regime.
Why do I smell burrito?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Exactly. Do we want to talk about the Republican debate at all?
Well, vote Trump.
Yes.
Trump all the way.
It'll be stimulating.
Because, I'm not sure if I brought this up, vote Trump because, then he could just point at any country he wants, says you're fired, and then firebomb them back to the charcoal age. It would be just hilarious.
And I'm almost ashamed that this is the easy joke to jump to, but do you think they'll mention his hair?
I think his hair is a win for ISIS.
I don't think his hair was mentioned, but a lot of stuff were mentioned in the Republican debate last night. One interesting question is he was called out for his various criticisms and nut job insults at women, and he took a random stab at Rosie O'Donnell in the middle of it, and then went on sort of a rant about how he's having fun. I didn't see the entire debate for the Republican one last night. I was watching Canadian one live. I've watched a good chunk of it now, though, and it seemed to be pretty dominated by Trump, as you guys said, in a pretty absurd way.
Well, you know, he's a fucking celebrity. He was before all this.
I was going to bring up that point. He's been on television shows. He's been publicly interviewed in different ways than a politician would be used to. Do you feel that perhaps just the experience of celebrity fame versus political fame would just have him coming into the fight with, I guess what I would call just a more ready mindset on handling attacks? Because celebrities are criticized all the time.
I think that's a good point. And I just want to say, I'm not a fan of Trump. I don't look up to him as a business leader whatsoever. But what he is good at is he's very good at selling his brand. He's very good at marketing his brand. I mean, that's what he does. That's his business acumen. That's his business success, is marketing his brand of Trump. And that's what he's continued to do in this election. He's just marketing Trump. He's just being Trump. And when he's on a debate, he's just dropping the Trump. That's what he does. And that's very popular. It's hilarious to watch.
But do you believe that when it comes down to the end of it, the society will be taking it seriously, or are they just enjoying the ride for now, and then when it gets down to the wire, they're really going to think, wait, do we really want him running the United States of America?
America's fucking
of course
retarded.
not.
Yes. No, totally they will.
Popularity polls, there's no way that he could win. In the general election, there's almost no way he could win the Republican nomination. And policy-wise, he's not that Republican. You got to remember right now, there's 17 Republicans running for the Republican nomination, and he by far is the most famous.
Well, he's easily getting the most media attention simply because he was already famous.
Well, he's talking in caps locks, so of course he is.
Which is very annoying at times.
Yes.
But from my perspective, I'm not necessarily looking for the Republicans to come out of this very strong, I think it's hilarious, and it's a blast to watch. And I tell you, it's so weird going from the Canadian debate to the Republican debate. It's so much more hyphy. The Canadian debate, the crowd wasn't cheering or being loud at all. They were quiet. Whereas
yes, very good, yes.
The Republican debate was cheering all sorts of nonsense. It was
Send it back to Mexico! Send it back to Mexico!
That was a big part of that was the central issue, or at least for the first round of questionings with Trump was
Mexico!
the wall. It's
make
so ridiculous.
them build the wall. You make them build the wall to keep themselves out.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's so ridiculous that I was just, I guess, it was a year ago now or 2 years ago that the 4th season of Arrested Development came out. And this one of the central plots there is one of the guys running for Republican nominations plan to build a wall.
Yes.
And at the time, it was so hilarious that was his sort of his focus of running.
It was satire of a ridiculous political platform.
And
exactly.
Now it's real.
And that's become real. And that was
I believe they did the same thing in the movie Machete.
Terry Crews. That was Terry Crews' character in Arrested Development.
Yeah. They did the same thing in the film Machete, which was supposed to be just a ridiculous spoof of the political character. And the wall was the same driving force there. And it's just a thing that's been used comedically for the last decade or so, and now it's being mentioned by people who shouldn't mention it.
Well, what's sort of sad is that the idea of the solution to any sort of immigration problem is build a wall is the satirical approach. It's what a character says when the point is that character is an idiot who doesn't understand foreign policy, who doesn't understand dealing with immigrants, who doesn't understand what he's talking about. And it's just so surreal that that's become centralized. And some of the other Republicans, the ones that don't need to sort of, or don't feel like they need to court any sort of Latino vote, were saying the same thing about a wall.
I think it would be kind of a funny thing if they built the wall for two reasons. One, they could have like these people walk on the wall, and it'd be just kind of like Game of Thrones. And two, I picture like some sort of
Mexican politician going, "Mr. President, bring down this wall," and that thought entertains me.
It could also join our topics of the day, and it could hold back giants who want to eat us.
Because
And,
Mexicans are giants.
Now, going back just one step, do you think that it's a social and comedic shame that Jon Stewart's not going to be around for the entirety of the Donald Trump ride?
Yeah, well, that was sort of for the last couple months. Jon Stewart sort of referred to how huge that is. I think that the fact that Jon Stewart is leaving now, it gives the new host a good chance to sort of have a lot to talk about and have a lot to sort of define himself in. I just want to add about the Republican debate. The first question was a very interesting question that was posed to them. They were asked, would anyone be willing to run independently as an independent if they did not win the Republican nomination? And the questioner added that given polls right now, that would be a sure win for the Democrats because that would split the vote. And that was obviously referring to Trump, who is in the last few weeks sort of threatened, if he didn't win the nomination, to just run as an independent, splitting the vote and giving the Democratic nominee, probably Hillary Clinton, the win. And what was hilarious is that he's doubled down on that. He said, yeah, I might do it. I'm not going to make any promises now.
For the Republican Party, he would run as an independent and just completely change his platform to a Democratic point of view. He wouldn't split the vote. He's not going to get that many in the first place, I don't believe. But it would continue the humor train.
Well, that's what's interesting about it, is that some people have pointed out that he has given a lot of money to politicians, particularly in New York. One of those politicians he's given money to in the last decade, in the previous decade, was Hillary Clinton. He could be an undercover Democrat. That's
what I'm telling you. Under conspiracy, he goes independent, splits the vote, makes sure Hillary Billary wins the Jewelry, becomes female lady Bill Clinton pull string from behind the scenes and getting all the blowjobs he wants.
And that is as close to hip-hop as the UberCast has ever gotten.
And that's, to be that pretty much, the reaction of the other Republicans, of the other hopefuls to his answer there was pretty huge, though. And him saying that he would consider running independently. I was thinking it would be hilarious if he ran independently and then won and then tried to run the country as an independent who didn't know what the hell he was doing.
Going along with the mention of him being a celebrity and how they often deflect things on the red carpet, let's say, by saying, oh, maybe, or you never know, or that could be a thing. Could this just be another case of a celebrity never says no? They just deflect. More so than politicians, in my opinion. Or at least in a grander gesture. Trump has never been what you'd call an actor, but he's definitely got that mindset of celebrity. Yes, exactly. I just think that he's just approaching this with a completely different set of skills than your average politician who hopefully is not just practicing how do I present myself to society. Obviously that's important, but Trump has had a lot more practice with just this. How will I appear? How will I speak? He's probably had vocal coaching back as far possibly as the 80s. And a politician, I would like to think, focuses on other things through the day. More primarily centered around the platform.
I think you're probably wrong there. I think particularly this group that's running for the nomination has probably spent a lot more time being coached on just how to talk, how to act like a human. Whereas I don't think Trump's just being Trump.
I think he just doesn't really care, and people love when nobody.
I think it's part of that. I think it's partly narcissism. I think there's part of him that's always just been like, hey, I could run for president if I wanted to. Fuck, I could be the president if I wanted to. I'm fucking Donald Trump. And I think that he's done that, and he's sort of convinced himself, hey, I'm seriously running for president now. I'm Donald Trump. I can do that. And I think that's what's happening. I don't think it's any sort of controlled strategy or plan. I think he's just... I think he's narcissist looking in his reflection and
to
falling
that kind
in.
of narcissistic thought process, if anybody else says, I could run for president, I believe back over a decade ago, Regis Philbin was joking about the same thing. And this could just be a case of to feed his ego. Presumably he won't win, and only one person will, obviously, because that's just sort of the way it works. And he could feed his ego by knowing that, well, at least I tried, and these people didn't. So he can still feel bigger than the other celebrities who joke about it now and then. Because every few years, somebody will at least seemingly joke about, I could run for president. I believe Colbert has even many times. Obviously, he's not taking it as seriously, but I think that's where Trump's coming from on this. He just knows that this is a joke, often attributed to people of his level of celebrity, I guess you'd call it, because he is a well-known name, and I think he's just having a laugh.
Well, one thing's for sure, it's hilarious. It's fun to watch. I also think the Canadian election is going to be the most exciting one we've had in quite a while too. So right now, it's an exciting time if you're interested in politics, which I think everyone should be. So let's finish this up. Finally, Clayton is going to have the final word on the politics.
I honestly think the Clune should run for office. George Clooney.
Oh, George Clooney?
The Clune, I think he could pull it off, the whole, I'm the president thing.
If he runs as Bruce Wayne, he's got my vote.
Excellent. Okay, so that's, I think, UberCast Season 2, Episode 2 finished up.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to promote?
Yes, I would like everybody to go to Waffle Stiltskin on YouTube, and I think we should get all them to all the people to put them in my freezer. Put all the people in my freezer, and what the fuck did I do? 141 welcome our insect overlords. Oh, it says I for one welcome our insect overlords. Okay, well that was just a little microwave message I just got from Steven. And that's
excellent.
Wonderful.
Okay, so that's UberCast.
Let's go back to your room. Let's go back to your room.
All right, that's UberCastX.com, at UberCastX on Twitter, one word. And why don't you take us out, Clayton?
Yeah. In all the universe, look to the skies for the answers. Because, that's pretty much it.
One like is one prayer for John Blizzard.
Yeah. That's right.
Fuck that guy.